You're listening to Epic Chats with Lee Stephen. To find out how you can be a guest, email lee@epicuniverse.com or tweet @epicuniverse on Twitter.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Epic Chats. Today we have Michael Palladini, who was the voice of David Jurgen in the Dawn of Destiny audiobook. Now, last week I had Stuart Cummings, who was the voice of Scott Remington in the audiobook, and I mentioned during that podcast that he was one of a handful of voice actors for the project that I actually had a chance to hang out with in real life. And Mike is the other handful in that handful. He's actually come down to New Orleans a couple of times, and I've been able to go up to New York City and hang out with him. And so, yeah, we've been back and forth a little bit. So what's going on, Mike?
Well, things are pretty good up here. You probably have heard that winter's already taking a hold.
It was in the 50s today. I can't believe how cold it is.
That's a warm-up right now for us up here.
Yeah, people were kind of freaking out because we had frost on the ground the other day. And, yeah, that's cold. That's cold. That's cold. We couldn't do what you guys do. We couldn't do it. We watch TV and we see, 15 feet of snow and you're driving through a tunnel. And, nah.
Well, the best part was that all the snow that we got up in New York was not even here,
Yeah, right. No, we get to freezing temperatures and the world shuts down down here. But I'll take my tropical Christmas any day of the week. Because snow is rough to deal with. Snow is rough. I don't think people down here can handle it if it snowed like it did up in New York.
Nah, you'd literally come to a standstill.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, you've come down to New Orleans a few times, and I've been up to New York, and we're both big football fans. I've actually had Mike come to a Saints game or two with me to watch the Saints back when the Saints were good. Now we're receding, but I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
What is wrong with the 2014 New York Jets?
Well, I'd be taking the easy way out to say just about everything, but I'll be specific. I think both quarterbacks need to go. I am not the least bit impressed with either one of them. I think Geno Smith is overrated, and Michael Vick's days are, his best days are best behind him. He's got to go.
I mean, it's got to be better than Sanchez, right?
Well, right now, Sanchez is having a very good laugh.
So was it the system that he was in when he was here that just wasn't working? Is that the problem? Like if Geno Smith went somewhere else, does he have the potential to put it together? Is it just like an offensive coordinator scheme problem?
Well, the Jets, I think, have changed the offensive coordinators at least a couple of times in recent years. So I don't know if they just can't get one system down or they just can't find the right guy to make it work. But from what I've seen out of Smith, especially this year, he's been on and off. And when Vick has gotten in, except maybe for a couple of good moments, he's been a disaster. I mean, the other day in Detroit, I mean, please.
It's rough. Things have been rough with the Saints, too, so I feel you.
Well, the one good thing about the Saints being that they're my 1B team, the Jets are my 1A team, at least the Saints still have a chance to win the division, as pitiful as they've been playing. So there's a gleam of light here, so to speak.
I don't want to win the division. I don't want to, because whoever wins the division is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. All you're going to get is a very low draft pick. That's it. That's the only thing you guarantee, and we need 5 top 10 picks right now. It's horrible. Let's talk about better things like audio work.
Yeah, let's do it.
So one awesome thing about Mike that I love is that he really got into the Epic series as he started to do preparation, I guess, would be the right word for David Jurgen in the audiobook. And so I have to ask, being a fan of Epic as well as a voice actor for the audiobook, do you feel like a particular closeness to David as a character?
Well, I must say that the character himself almost mirrors myself. I mean, New Yorker. He's got the attitude. He's a straight shooter. I notice he likes to get up early in the morning, which I do, even when I don't have to. So I would say yes. He's just the type of a guy, and I will also say this: he's in my age group, so there's another connection there. So you could say yes. There's plenty of connections between David and myself.
I have to say this because it's humorous to me that when I wrote David Jurgen, and people may not know this, but I wrote Dawn of Destiny when I was 19 and 20. That That was a long time ago. And I remember thinking, like, he's going to be old. He's going to be 40. Now that I'm 33, 40 is not old. That's not old.
No.
That's old to a kid. Come on.
Well,
That's not
I'm older than that, and I do not feel my age, so I guess you can say we're on the same page with that, too.
Yeah.
I've learned one thing. As long as you don't feel your age mentally, you're okay.
So one aspect that I loved about your actual delivery in Dawn of Destiny was that you were an all-in actor. I mean, guns blazing, screaming. What I always think about is you sent me a comment during the recording process that, I don't know if it was early in the morning or late at night, maybe you can refresh my memory, but you were screaming into your microphone one of the scenes. It's got to be the bug hunt. It's got to be David yelling at Henry to get down.
That's right.
Screaming at the top of your lungs for that. And your neighbors were probably trying to sleep in the apartment. So tell me about the importance from your side of things in going 100% full throttle. Is that easy to do?
Well, like you said, it's when you go all in, I take the attitude, if you're going to do so, you do so. You make the decision, or as I've been taught, when you have an attitude or an opinion towards something, you go with it. And sometimes in a situation like this with the bug hunt, if you got to yell, you yell. There's no getting around it. And if I may say, when I did that at the time, my father had gone to work, and my neighbors next door live in a detached house, so I don't think they heard me anyway. So that's the best part. If you have a closet where you can scream into, which is what I do here when I do my recordings, you can get away with that, and the sound doesn't leave the room. So, and like I said, it was about 5:30 in the morning when I did it, so I actually did that before I went to work that day.
Yeah, that got you good and awake for work.
Oh yeah, it gets the blood going.
Yeah, I guess so. You said, you have to go full throttle like that, but that's not something that every actor can do. I mean, that's something that is I don't want to say unique to you, because I've had other voice actors be able to do the same thing in this project, but it's not something that comes natural, I think is the right way to put it, for everybody. To just scream at the top of their lungs. There's a little bit of restraint there for a lot of people.
Well, I'll also say this. I'm not, formally trained. I did not go to school to act or for anything like this. I first got started in voiceovers the beginning of 2007, and because I was always interested, especially in animation and things like that. Right. And with something like this, I mean, I'm just going on natural ability, so to speak. If it says, to scream or yell in this case, like you say, you go all in and you do it.
Not everybody can give that kind of completely real performance, especially with the emotional scenes. And I'm talking about emotion, not just screaming, but there's some very, I want to say, tender conversations with Scott about life and about what it means to have family and have loved ones. David being a family man in Epic. And those are two totally different levels. To go 100%, but then to go 100% on a low, quiet level. Mm-hmm. It's awesome that that's something that you're able to do.
When I read, when you sent me the copy of Dawn of Destiny, first of all, I will say this: it's a great story. In fact, I've read all the books, and it's just a great story throughout. But to answer your question, just to get into David's head, just to get an idea of where he's going, aside from him being the New Yorker and being the straight shooter and everything, he does have a family. He's got children of his own, and yes, Scott is, in a sense, you could say a younger brother, not necessarily a father figure. And he's just basically telling Scott, look, this is how it is. And he, in a sense, he puts his hand on his shoulder every once in a while, so to speak. And he just says, look, this is what we need. This is what you need to do. This is how it goes. And this is what you should remember. So, and being an older brother myself, I've done that with my own brother. I've said, there are sometimes you got to do it this way. And you just take that attitude. And that's the approach I took as far as David when dealing with Scott.
Do you have a certain, preparation ritual that you do before you get into the booth and start giving your lines?
Just basically going over them, just checking the context, see what the other lines are going to bring about before I deliver mine, so I know what direction to take them in. Because the best thing to do with anything, especially when they take up a role for movies, if it's based on a book, the best thing that they can do, at least from what I've seen from other people, you get a hold of the book, you read it, not just to find out with what you need to deliver, but what everybody around you is delivering, so you can get into that mindset and the context, and you can go along with it so it comes across as natural as possible.
Just knowing the context of what David was talking about had such a big impact on your delivery for it. I mean, there were scenes later in the book that you were able to allude to emotionally, if that makes sense, with some of David's lines in the beginning of the book. Like, you could deliver a line in the beginning knowing eventually this is going to translate into this toward the end. And it just was incredible. It was such I think maybe that's a part that contributed to how real a performance this was. But that's a good thing. For those of you who are out there looking for to glean bits of wisdom from these, that's something not to be understated. When you get a chance to actually read the entire piece of work, go beyond just your guide, read the whole thing, get the feel of how it goes. And, I mean, it definitely showed through with Mike's performance.
Across the room, a soldier's cough disturbed the air. Scott's gaze remained on David until the older man said,
I shouldn't be here. I should be home, being a father. I should be doing something safe, selling real estate, giving financial advice. Something that gives them something other than a knock on the door and a total stranger.
Dave, back at Richmond, you were helping me through the same thing with Nicole.
This is different now. Now, we're being told to die. Tell me you haven't been thinking about this too. Look me in the eye and tell me you haven't been thinking the same thing after what just happened.
One thing that I want to ask you about, Mike has also done something awesome, which I love to death. He has become a novelist. He released his first novel, Going to Church. That was 2 years ago, was it?
It was published in November of 2012, just a little over 2 years ago.
A little over 2 years ago. How was that experience? That was the first book that you had written, correct?
Yep.
How was that experience for you?
Well, I must say it was kind of an experience where it just, what happened was there was something that was going on as far as I had noticed about life, where you figure, if you ever sit down and go, if I ever had a chance to do some things over again, now obviously we can't. That's just the way life is. It's one way. But if you could, would you actually do it if somebody handed you the opportunity, in a sense? And I just felt there was something that had to be put down. And what I did was I just started writing. I had some characters in mind, and I will say this, a lot of this was done off the top of my head. I made some notes along the way, but it was just one of those instances where I was typing and staying, along with the story. And before I knew it, I had a story that was, at least when I was typing out, it was over 300 pages, I would think, just as per the word processor.
Right.
And I looked it over and everything, and I was satisfied with what I had, making some corrections. I found a publisher that read the manuscript, and they were willing to work with me. And eventually the finished product was done, and it was released 2 years ago around this time. It was just it was a different experience. I obviously had never written anything before, and just to be able to say, yeah, I did that, and to put it out there and just say, this is what I was thinking about, and this is for the world to read. Whoever wants to read it, it's there. So
it's so awesome that you did that, because you run across so many people, especially as a novelist myself. You come across people who have never written a novel, but they've always wanted to. They say, I've had this great idea. I've never done anything with it, or I've always wanted to write a novel. And I always say, just do it. Just write the novel. And you did that, which is so awesome. And I give you total kudos for it, because it's not easy to do. It is not easy, people.
No, it
takes a lot.
No, it's not.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. What is your website? Because I want to be able to send people there.
My website is www.michaelpalladini, and that is spelled MichaelPalladine.com.
It's always a blast talking to you.
Likewise, man.
There's like almost no prep that's required when I talk to Mike, because we talk on occasion like this anyway. So take care of yourself, and Go Jets and Saints. It's not too late.
No, it's not.
What are we're 4-7. The Jets are what? 4-7?
2-9 and face down in the water.
It would not be too late if you were in our division. You'd be right there in competition.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
All right, Mike. Take care, man.
You too, man.
Want to be on the show? Send an email to lee@epicuniverse.com or tweet @epicuniverse on Twitter.